What's up, guys? In this video, I'm going to open a Yeti for the first time. It's an unboxing video. Isn't that crazy? But before I get into that, I want to talk about why I freaking love these microphones so much. So it's because I'm a YouTuber, obviously. But now that I've gotten more experience with recording audio and trying to fix audio that wasn't recorded properly in the first place or was recorded with like the wrong kind of microphone, holy crap, do I appreciate these Yetis. Like, you can get one of these used on eBay for like $80. They're really reliable. Obviously, everything can break, and I'm getting this one because my microphone right here, sadly, has been having problems. It randomly makes my voice sound very deep suddenly, and sometimes it disconnects for a second. And I was able to fix a first problem, but ultimately I have traveled extensively with this, and I didn't keep it in its box, and it bangs around a lot. There's a lot of wear that kind of explains. Also, I bought it used in the first place. So I'm very, very, very happy with how that came out. But the main reason that I'm so fond of Yetis is because they are so convenient to use, and they're really good at isolating the noise right in front of you. So if you are using voice recording, that's what you're trying to do, getting one of these is awesome. Like, I can record content with a Yeti for my Udemy courses, and I don't need to do anything to the audio. It's fine exactly how it is. Even if there's like a slight background noise or stuff going on, when you're recording with a Yeti or like a nicer microphone, they're much better at focusing, right? So like right now, for example, there are people in the other room watching TV. So if I stop talking, you can hear that. And I'm not using a Yeti microphone, but this is the microphone in an iPhone X, so it's also gonna do the same kind of thing. Some microphones, it's like they hear everything at a more similar volume level. So it's the distractions in the environment are like louder. I don't know how to explain it really, because I'm by no means an audio expert. I'm just somebody who makes recordings very, very regularly. So over the years, I've gotten more used to that and used a couple different microphones. And I swear by these. I absolutely love them. Okay, so that being said, now that you understand why, we're going to show you what's in one of these. They have tons and tons and tons of different options now, like different colors, all sorts of stuff. I should probably put like Amazon links in this video, but I'm just making it mostly for fun. So here we go. And this is the first time opening this one. I've gone through like 2 in my life, so not so worried about it. I got one originally, and then I gave it to a friend. And then I got another microphone, an AT2020 Audio-Technica. And then that busted because I was recording stuff in Nicaragua in the rain, essentially. Would bust any microphone. But they've been great. I love Yetis. So you have this box inside, so you can keep, this is like a slip cover essentially, and this is the more kind of protective storage stuff. So now it's gonna be like more traditional packaging. You can see there is a line of tape right here. So I'm just gonna take a little pointy thing. This is literally just, it's a pointy thing. It's a tool that's designed to be a pointy thing. Isn't that crazy? Now we can open it up. So inside, we have a USB cable, quite similar to the one over there on the floor behind me from the other microphone, but hey, they do give you a really long cable, which is really awesome. Then we have instructions, tells you about some stuff that I'll explain later on in this video about how to record using the microphone. We got foam inserts, and there it is! There it is! Oh my gosh. Well, this one's teal. I really like the different colors. What? So this is how you're supposed to, when it comes to storage, you want to keep this box, and you want to make sure the microphone is in the foam inserts, okay? And you also want to make sure that there is always desiccant in the box. And you probably would want to replace this. They say to throw this away, and people act like desiccant's incredibly poisonous, and It's not actually poisonous, but in its nature, what it does is it pulls moisture out of things. That's why they have it in electronic equipment, and that's why you should have desiccant in anything that stores sensitive electronics. So by storing your microphone properly and having like desiccant and other things to prevent humidity, which is going to be what cause like internal problems, there's basically two ways to damage your microphone. One is by physically damaging it through vibrations and motions. That's going to loosen components inside and ultimately, eventually cause some kind of problem. You can also damage it with the air, with humidity. This is going to cause various other problems. So essentially, if you minimize the amount of time you're moving the microphone around, you store it properly, and you make sure that you're not using it in a humid environment for very long, then ultimately it's going to last you a long, long time. These are really, really great microphones. So this is the version that I got. You can see, looks like this, quite colorful. And one common mistake that people make, and I want to make sure that you don't make this, they think that this is how you talk to the microphone. What's really funny though, is that the front of the microphone is actually right here in like a cone like that. So my face is right now directly in front of the microphone. This would either be recording up there or it would be recording down there. So it's going to sound like you're still going to hear your voice. And if you don't know about recording, then it's going to sound good because it's a good microphone. But the reality is that this is the front of the mic. So it should be parallel to you, not perpendicular. Okay? That's like novice mistake number one with using microphones. So we're going to go over some of the buttons on this microphone so you can understand what they do. And I'll explain how I use the different things and why I might use them. But honestly, I almost always just use the same one. Okay? So we have a mute button. Then there is a volume button. And if you look on the underside of the microphone, you can see that there's a screw here. There is an audio jack and a USB port. And then if we look at the back, we can see there are two levers, or two knobs, I guess. Gain, and here we have volume, or sorry, not volume, pattern. So this refers to polar pattern, and this is kind of how it records sound, all right? Now that I've showed you all the buttons, I'm gonna go over how I use them and why they may or may not be relevant to you, okay? So first off, let's talk about this little screw thing here. I'm recording this in just a cell phone camera, but a lot of recorders like to record their content using fancy shock mounts and stuff. Because essentially, if this microphone is just sitting on a table, you're also recording the vibrations on the table, right? This is going to cause problems sometimes. You're going to be able to hear it, maybe, sometimes, if nobody's talking. So what you can do here is screw a mount into the bottom of the Yeti, and that's going to allow you to have, basically, if you imagine a swing that holds everything in place with like elastic bands, so there's no vibration. That's how you get the smoothest, like most crystal clear audio quality, okay? But honestly, one of the big things with getting kind of crappier mics to work for you is understanding that as long as microphones kind of focus on a point of sound. So as long as you maintain talking and you make sure that you're filling the silence, essentially, then you're not going to notice background noise and ambient noise as much as if there's a lot of silences, okay? But so that's what that's for. This is how the device gets power through USB. This is how it connects to your computer. These are usually plug-and-play microphones, so you can just plug them in and then your computer considers it the default microphone. You may have to change that in your settings. There's also a problem where we're going to talk about this audio jack now, because you can plug headphones into this, and what that is for feedback. what's going to happen when you plug headphones here is that you are going to hear what you are currently recording. So if I had this microphone plugged in right now and I was listening through these headphones, I would hear my voice as I'm saying it at the same time that I'm saying it in my ears. Okay, and this can help you focus. There's a lot of different situations where this would be relevant. If you ever see me recording, I almost always have earbuds in, but I'm actually not listening to what I'm saying. I'm doing the opposite. I'm trying to distract myself as much as possible and listen to music and like get lost in a train of thought while I happen to be talking about it. It's just easier for me to stay on topic and continue to make longer videos that way. And one of the reasons I make long videos is because a focus in my life is lengthening my attention span. A lot of my life I've had struggles with attention span, and people have said like, oh, you have ADD, you have ADHD, but I don't think that's another rant. I think that everything is caused by your environment. If you have ADD or ADHD, essentially you've been in an environment with a lot of stimulation where you are not able to, or it's not convenient for you to sit down for more than like 30 minutes and do something. If you are used to, your brain is used to just putting 5, 10, 15 minutes into something, or maybe less than that, 30 seconds, then it becomes harder and harder to get away from it. You have to force yourself. You have to push yourself and step outside of your comfort zone and try and do things longer. And essentially that's what video allows me to do. It allows me to lengthen my attention span by forcing me to stay on topic and on track, because I don't do loop cuts and I don't edit my videos. So I can't afford to just be like, oh, I'll fix it later, I'll fix it later, I'll fix it later, because I just don't want to, if I did that, then I wouldn't get all these healthy benefits. It wouldn't make me progress as fast as it does, right? So I got distracted there. Next, we're going to get to the mute button and then the volume button. The volume button only determines how loud the feedback of your voice is in your headphones. Aside from that, it does absolutely nothing. This does not change the volume of your recording. It is only for the headphones that you're listening to while you're recording, okay? And it is possible to plug it in and then have your computer play audio through that audio jack, right? So you would hear your voice and whatever you're playing on the computer. But if you do this, keep in mind that your computer is going to consider this the speaker. So if you're trying to do a Skype call and you can't hear anything, or you're trying to play a YouTube video and there's no music, there's no audio, it's probably because your computer is trying to put the audio out through here. So you can go into your speaker settings and just make sure that it's set to whatever the default is and it doesn't say Yeti. If it says Yeti, that means it's trying to put the computer volume out here. And that's a common problem. If you start using a microphone more regularly, you're bound to come into that at some point, right? So then above that, we have the mute button. When the mute button is not on, it is a constant red. When the mute button is on, it blinks red. Blinking means no audio. On means audio. But it doesn't necessarily mean recording. It means the microphone is recording a signal, but that doesn't mean that that signal is being stored digitally on your computer, right? If you have this microphone plugged into your computer, this is going to be red, even though you're not actively recording. Your microphone is just listening, essentially, but it's not remembering anything because your computer's not doing anything with the data that it's sending, right? So then let's get to the stuff on the back. And this is the most complicated part. We're going to zoom up here, and you can see that there's a knob that says gain, and then also a knob that says pattern. There are 4 polar patterns. This one, the one that looks like a little heart, is the one that you should almost always use. There are situations where you would use the other polar patterns, but most of these are only going to happen if you're recording more than one person. And at least most of my YouTube content, I'm the one talking, or I'm doing a Skype call or something online, and in which case I'm only recording my volume, they're dealing with their audio, and the rest is digital, right? So you are almost always going to use Cardioid, which is this one. It looks like a little upside down heart. That's the one that you're going to use almost all of the time. You might also use omnidirectional. This has less of that focusing effect, so it's going to hear pretty much the whole room, right? When the microphone is on Cardioid, you should do a little test actually if you get one of these, so that you can see how this works, right? This is the back of the microphone. This is the front of it. When it's on Cardioid, it's listening to like a cone, like heart shape in front of it. So if you talk to the back of it and then turn the microphone up, it's going to sound like it's going to be kind of distant. Like if I'm listening to the recording, I'm imagining that this is what it would sound like if it was backwards. And then as it gets closer, then your volume just goes up because that's where it's actually recording. So it's important to understand that the microphone is very sensitive to direction. This is how I would be recording. You want the blue logo to be facing you, okay? That's important. It's going to help a lot with your audio quality, okay? And then there's two other polar patterns, and honestly, I don't completely understand them. I don't use them that much. One is essentially when you have two people sitting across the table talking to each other. And then I don't remember what the other one is, but I never use it. I've found everything that I need from Cardioid, and if I'm recording a room where multiple people are talking, then using the everything one. Omnidirectional, I think, is what it's referred to as in fancy terms, okay? So next, we're going to talk about the gain button. This is the last thing that you really need to understand. The gain is going to make your recording louder, all right? You should start with the gain at 0, which means that it is completely turned this way, okay? You want your gain knob to be pointing towards the far left polar pattern, okay? This means that when you're recording, it's just recording what it's hearing. So it's not going to be super loud. When you increase the gain, what you are doing is digitally making it louder. So at 0 gain, it's going to be hard to make the microphone crackle or pop. It's going to be much harder to overwhelm it or distort the audio because something was too loud or too sudden. Whereas once you start upping the gain, that becomes more and more likely because you're literally digitally amplifying the sound, okay? So typically, if you are the only one in the recording, or if I'm the only one recording, then I'll use no gain because I'm just in my room, my voice is right in front of the microphone, and that's going to make it sound as clear and lifelike as possible. Whereas if I were making a video game Let's Play, there is constantly noise in the background, and you need to make your volume louder so that it can compete with the kind of average volume of the background noise and the combat in the video game. That's kind of one of the trickier things about streaming, is getting the audio to a point where they can hear you while you're talking, even if you're fighting something or you get attacked, you know? So in that situation, I would typically use the gain at like 50%, maybe like 40%. You want to use less gain when possible because it does distort the audio and make it more likely to peak, basically. And then you get like a crackling, and it's possible for the microphone to then drop and like reset. So you might get it might cut out for a couple milliseconds or something, right? So that's essentially everything about how the Yeti works. I hope this video has helped you guys. I don't think there's anything else. I talked about how to store it, talked about some problems that I've had with like the audio, that kind of thing, when I've used the headphones. You understand what the headphones are, what the buttons do. So I hope that you appreciate this. And if you want to get one of these or whatever, feel free to use a link in the description. I will put some kind of Amazon link to them. So, cool. Ciao!